Hey friends, Gero 508. It's Sunday, August 3rd, last week of class.
6 week.
A lot of stuff going on this week. All the quizzes are due on Friday. Your final exam is on Friday. It'll be open all day. Your corporate marketing pamphlet is due on Monday, this Monday, tomorrow. So make sure you get everything done. If you've missed any assignments, reach out to me and I'll work with you. I want everybody to be successful. We do have a tight time frame to turn in our grades, so we don't have a lot of flexibility after the class ends.
Just like a deadline at work. It should be work, it is what it is, and so just treat it that way. The corporate marketing pamphlet, you just go into the course. You can either go into activities or you can go through content. Let's go through activities real quickly. Assignment. Okay, and all right, you see it right here. So it's clearly laid out. Okay, everything you want to do. Of course, we have to have the learning objectives to satisfy Bovard, and then we have here what the most important thing is the directions. And and we want you to be artistic. Have yourself put into it, but also use the content and view this as when we say a marketing pamphlet, this is a pitch deck because you're either working at a facility and you want to transform the facility, or you're looking to get a job. All right. And so you're pitching your ideas, and that's the way you get it. So you got to make it engaging. And we've provided two really well done ones down here just so you get a feel. Okay. Alrighty. And then some common questions down here, and they're answered for you. Right. Okay. So let's go right into week 6's content. Okay.
So module 11.
And we are here, module 11. As you can see, module 11. All right.
So we're continuing to talk about stress interventions, and I like meditation because I like things that are easy and free. You could do it anywhere. You don't have to pay someone. There's a ton of free resources on the internet that can guide you and teach you how to do meditation. And I'll be honest, I'm not someone who is capable of sitting and meditating for 30 or 40 minutes at a time. Some people do, and yay for them. If it works for you, then do it. But what I do use are some tech tools. Where's my phone? There's my phone. I have a Fitbit that has a tool we'll talk about in a minute. And so as needed, I can do little short 2-5 minute meditation bursts when I need it. And as a cancer patient, if I'm going to have a bone marrow biopsy and I'm apprehensive, I will sit in the waiting room and I'll do some breathing exercises and meditation exercises just to kind of get my blood pressure down and get myself to a better place. So there's a lot that we can do with meditation and mindfulness, and we'll talk about that right now.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and when you exercise, you meditate, in small ways. So, but sometimes you can't get away, and so you have to have a way to. See, I see it gets bright if I don't cover the. There we go. Now I'm pink and old again.
We're getting older
Oh
every
my God.
day.
But
Every day.
but anything that you can kind of lose yourself and not think about your problems,
Yeah.
it is meditation. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of research looking at meditation and the benefits of meditation. And meditation's been popular for as long as I've been alive and longer. So we've had time to really fine tune it. And this is a graphic from Psychology Today that just
Mayo
looks
Clinic,
at
so it's the real deal.
the benefits of meditation. So if you are a person with a health condition or an injury, meditating can reduce your pain. It can help your body's immune system reboot and get stronger. It can help with depression, anxiety, anger. It increases blood flow. It slows your heart rate. And there's some research that shows. I was just looking at an article today that said that having heart rate variability can be a positive thing. So
and that by being able to slow it and increase it, so instead of being
and I look at my heart rate variability every day on my Fitbit app because I exercise, and then I say, okay, what was my high rate today? What was my low rate? But it really helps you de-stress, relax, kind of regroup, recenter yourself. there's a lot of evidence that it's good in terms of for cardiac patients, for people with heart disease, because you're reducing your stress, you're reducing your blood pressure, you're potentially reducing inflammation, which can be a problem for people with heart disease. And, many of us, I'll be honest, I'm a worrier. I have intrusive thoughts. Sometimes, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and start worrying about my kids or worrying about work or, worrying about my health or John's health. And so meditation can kind of quiet your mind. We call it the monkey brain when your brain is just moving all over the place. It can give you more energy, surprisingly. That ability to kind of slow down and regroup can refresh your brain. And obviously it reduces your stress. So these are all things that are scientifically based that look good. We gave you a really short article from a local health website that just talks about how, you don't, like I said, you don't have to meditate for 50 minutes a day. Meditating for 5 or 10 minutes is enough to improve your heart rate, reduce your stress, lower your blood pressure, and reduce your risk of heart disease, diabetes, and stroke, which we all want to avoid, right? And I think the types of techniques that we use, if you've ever done therapy or if you've ever had issues with anxiety or panic attacks or something like that, one of the most common pieces of advice you'll hear is be mindful, be present. And one of the most common things that you will be told is, particularly if you have issues with anxiety or panic attacks, is focus on your 5 senses. So think of 5 things that you can see, 5 things that you can smell, 5 things that you can hear, 5 things that you can touch, and 5 things that you can taste. So this idea of being mindful in our everyday, when you sit down to eat your lunch.
There goes a monarch butterfly.
Yeah, John and I are super excited because we have a
We
butterfly
probably
garden.
hatched 15 monarchs in the last week.
So we just have clouds of monarch butterflies just floating by in our
It's
backyard.
awesome.
So, and I find that sort of mindfulness crosses over into our next topic, which is gratitude. When you taste the plum, I love all the fruits in the summer. When you taste the plum and you're like, oh, this is the best plum I've ever had.
Remember that one year with Modern Family?
Yeah, Modern Family had a great episode. We had one year where the plums were otherworldly, unbelievably good in California. And Modern Family actually had an episode where one of the characters
Kept
was
going by.
how good the plums
It was
were.
the husband. I can't remember his name, but he would just walk by the screen in multiple episodes
Talking
commenting on the
about
plums.
which we had been doing all summer. And so when you do meditate, you get that grounding and that sense of focusing on, what's real, what's present, what are you doing? It helps with your breathing. Obviously, there's more complicated meditation where you'll repeat a mantra, a word or phrase, and you'll be very focused on your breathing. And there's very simple meditations, like my Fitbit has something, I think it's just called relax. And I hit the button and I can, for 2 minutes, it has a little thing that monitors my breathing. And I'm focusing on slowing my heart rate and slowing my breath.
And if you've
So,
ever attended a yoga class and you look at all this and your instructor is asking you to do all the different features that are shown here. You're doing these smooth movements, you're controlling your breathing, okay? They'll oftentimes have music or scents or whatever to enhance your sensations. And they, and part of yoga is to lose yourself into your thoughts. So it's
very
true.
relaxing.
It's very relaxing,
Very relaxing.
and so there's and obviously sometimes you'll be in the office and you can't break out into yoga, all right, but you just think about what you do in yoga and just apply it in your own
Yeah.
little world.
And what I love about, not to like keep raving about my Fitbit, what I love about my Fitbit is I can be sitting in the waiting room and I do it commonly before I go in for an infusion. And I can be sitting in the waiting room and I hit the button on my phone, on my Fitbit, and I'm doing the breathing exercises. And there's a ton of people around me, but no one can tell what I'm doing. Right.
I love what I love to do too. I because of my issues with my joints and discs and things like that, connective tissue. I've had to go to the doctor more often than I'd like to, and so they always want to take your blood pressure. And so I know it's coming, and so it's the first thing that they do, and I hate it when they start ragging on me for my blood pressure or whatever. And so you take that moment, okay, when you're in the doctor's office, close your eyes and begin to meditate and focus on lowering your blood pressure, and then lo and behold,
It is
your
lower.
blood pressure is lowered. She always tells me, don't cross your legs. And she always tells me stop talking
He's
too. So
very chatty.
okay,
So I was
all
telling me.
righty.
So this is a paper we used to have our students read. Great paper that looks at stress meditation and Alzheimer's disease, but it was super, super complicated and
Technical,
really hard to
right?
read. So I'm giving you the bullet point high points of the paper. Basically, we know stress increases your cortisol. Cortisol damages the cells in your brain. It also increases risk factors. Cortisol can increase your inflammation. It can increase your blood pressure. It can increase blood sugar, leading to
Plus
diabetes.
diabetes,
Um,
and now the nerve cells are not getting the sugar that they need.
so
Okay,
all of these risk factors that can lead to a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease can be reversed by meditation. So you get better blood flow to your brain. We'll talk a little bit about a study that just came out of USC, out of USC gerontology, where meditation led to improved scores, improved attention scores. So you can do better on cognitive testing. So how about a little bit of a meditation before you take the final exam in 508? Better memory. We all want better memory, right? So maybe a little meditation before you're studying every day, and after you study. It can improve your mood, which is always helpful. We're human beings, so we're going to have days where we're grumpy and things are annoying. And being able to pull ourselves out of that and back into a better place is a really positive tool. Um, Improved telomerase activity. So we'll have a slide in a minute that shows that as you get older, your telomerase, your telomeres get
this
shorter.
is a very caps on the ends of your chromosomes, and they regulate how quickly stem cells will divide to produce new cells. Now, obviously, not every tissue in our body has really active stem cells, but the ones that do, um, it enhances them. So you get tissue replenishment.
Yeah. So there's a lot of studies looking specifically at cardiac patients and cancer patients, and looking at whether the intervention of meditation can improve their telomere length or keep their telomeres from getting short. Better sleep. We all want better sleep, right? Particularly if you live at USC. My son lived for 2 years next to the fire station in Hoover House, and he got used to the noise. But I'm sure that meditation might have helped a little bit. So better upregulation of your immune genes, downregulation of inflammatory genes, and improved glucose metabolism.
Which
So
is,
a lot of the stuff that we've
the
seen,
opposite of
yeah,
diabetes.
a lot of the stuff that we've seen with exercise and other interventions, we're seeing a strong scientific evidence for meditation.
And this is, if you were to go to the paper, these are just the acronyms that they use all throughout. So,
Okay. So, here's a little graphic if you want to do a 1 minute mindfulness practice. So you're walking into an exam, or you're sitting in your car and you're getting ready to go to an interview for a job. And, you can feel your stress levels are high. You can feel your anxiety levels are high. So you're just going to take a minute and you're going to focus on your breath. And I like to do like a 4 count in and a 4 count out, breathing deeply and slowly, and slowing down your breath. And then you're going to I love when we're walking, for me, it's meditation the whole time we walk our dogs, because I'm listening to the birds and I'm looking at, we have a lot of squirrels and roadrunners and critters that cross our path.
Lucy panting.
Yeah. It's like, sometimes all I can hear is the dog panting. But, close your eyes, focus on, I'm going to breathe 1, 2, 3, 4 in, and hold it for, sometimes you can do box breathing where you breathe 1, 2, 3, 4 in, hold it for 4 breaths, breathe 1, 2, 3, 4 out, wait for 4 breaths, and then just pay attention to how you're feeling. So you can do that in a minute, and it can alleviate some of that stress. And so mindfulness and meditation is just a really positive tool. And I think every single one of us, regardless of who you are, we have a little bit of stress in our lives. You may in future years look back on when you were a student and think, wow, that was awesome. But right now, when you're in the midst of it and you've got finals and you're trying to get everything done, it's pretty stressful, right?
Yeah.
It's stressful for us because we're looking, it's August, school's starting. I got to get my Brightspace pages put together. I have to remember to update my content. And oh, here we go again, So
But, you know,
professors get stressed out
and
too.
I'm guilty of it, but but if you start losing control of stress, you start ruminating on the bad and the hopelessness, and then what you need through meditation, you sit there and then you calm yourself down, and then you go to solutions
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
problem solving, and that's key because you can't control the things that happen to you oftentimes. Um, like the brightness of my face right now. Now I'm positioning my head. It's just that it's very white back there. Um, but you can control how you respond to it. See, now it's better.
Another way of dealing with stress is laughing, which we do a lot. Um, so this little article from Providence about meditation and mindfulness, it had a reference to a Journal of the American Heart Association article looking at meditation and cardiovascular risk. And so I wanted to just pull that article out and give you a link to it. In case you want to explore that further. But basically, we're seeing this credible evidence that meditation can help with cardiac risk, which is super meaningful. I don't know about you, but on my mom's side of the family, every single person had heart disease. And so I'm at the age now where I'm thinking, okay, my mom was about this age when she started to have health issues. So I'm really focused right now on, doing my cardio exercise and maybe doing some strength training and improving my diet, went on a statin, doing all these things to make sure that I can avoid some of the things that prior generations did in my family. So, do your meditation for your heart health. It can help you quit smoking, and we know that smoking is bad for you. It can help improve your mood and your overall sense of well-being. Okay, so we have this video, which I love. There's a lot of information in this video, so I'm recommending to you to slow down the speed of the video because it's fast. So I tinkered with it and I got to 0.75 was about right for me. You do you. Maybe you like to watch it faster than 1.0. I don't know. But it had a lot of information. So I pulled some of the articles that they talk about in the video just so that we can give you some of the background information because they do go through things pretty quickly. One of the powerful tools that we have in looking at the scientific effects of interventions in distress is these types of brain scans. So these functional MRIs that show metabolic activity in the brain.
So what parts of the brain are active? Okay, and you can tell by looking at right here where the oxygen is flowing. That's basically it. Um, and then they can hone down, okay, and look for this is where they subtract things out. Okay, so you see these are kind of similar, and then when you subtract things out, this is a different study, and they're looking at the part of the brain that's super active during pain, and then this is what happened with meditation. So,
And so that's why meditation is such a great, great tool for patients who are about to undergo or have just undergone a painful procedure. And so that's why every time I have a bone marrow biopsy, it's not that painful, but when at the start they inject you with a lidocaine and that hurts. I will make sure that I meditate in advance. And so, I've had really good experiences. All 3 times I've had bone marrow biopsies, they haven't been that painful. And I think my little 5-minute meditation probably helps a little bit. Okay. So they talk about a lot of stuff in the meditation video about pain tolerance, increased pain tolerance. Um, if you've ever had a child, most of you haven't yet, but I was, going to do all the things before I had my first child. So we went to Lamaze training, classes to learn how to breathe, and that's very much meditative. And so I've actually used my Lamaze breathing exercises throughout my whole life. So if I'm at the dentist and, the lidocaine's starting to wear off and things are getting a little painful, or if I'm, having a procedure done that can be a little bit painful, I'll use those breathing exercises and that meditation type um, skill set to help with whatever medical procedure I'm doing. One of the studies that I thought was really interesting was they said, okay, we want to compare really experienced meditators versus novice people who are just starting to learn how to do it and see how it affects compassion and empathy and response to different stimuli. So they took Buddhist monks who had over 10,000 hours of meditation experience, and they had a group of Buddhist monks, and then they had a group of novice meditators. And then they did the functional MRIs, and they had them listen to a happy baby, so happy baby sounds, and they had them listen to a woman who was in distress and crying. And what was really interesting was that the Buddhist monks had this rush of empathy and compassion that lit up in that part of the brain when they heard the sounds of the woman in distress. So they saw that this lengthy meditation practice had a really powerful effect on the compassion and empathy parts of the brain and the skill of having compassion and empathy. Um, Now here's a different study that looked at mindfulness training, and they call it MBSR, mindfulness stress-based reduction. And this is a woman out of Harvard called Sarah Lazar.
So what you're looking at here is just the basic MRI if you've ever had one, okay? And they do that so that you can see what parts of the brain are, you can identify, what is going on.
So they're not looking at the metabolic stuff, the colorful stuff that we saw with the functional MRI.
Okay.
We're looking at how thick your hippocampal gray matter is.
And there's
So you've had meditation and
so
mindfulness training.
they're measuring it right here, these little cursors.
So they're going in and they're measuring your hippocampus, your gray matter, and they're finding that it got thicker during mindfulness training.
There you go. See?
And then they went in and they looked at your amygdala. So remember your amygdala, I always call it the lizard brain, because your amygdala is what gets activated when you're scared, when the lion's chasing you, or when you're almost in a car accident on the freeway, or when you see that the person you used to date that you had a bad breakup with, your amygdala just lights up. And so they looked at people who had, they measured their amygdala, and then they looked at their perceived stress scores. So the higher your perceived stress score, the thicker and denser your amygdala gray matter was. So experiencing stress or perceiving that you're experiencing stress was a workout like you would work out your muscles, and your amygdala gets bigger and stronger.
And I was pointing to that earlier, and I should have been pointing here for when the memory part of your brain gets bigger right here. You see, with this type of meditation. Sorry.
Yes. So interesting, we don't think about our brain as like a muscle, but you can work out the bad part of your brain that you don't want. You don't want your amygdala to be big and strong, because then you're going to go through life and see everything as a threat. The person in line behind you at the grocery store is going to scare you. So it's better to have a little control over your stress so your amygdala doesn't get too powerful. So I always pay attention to this study because I'm a cancer patient, I'm immunocompromised. So when I go to get my COVID vaccine or my flu vaccine, or when we go to Costa Rica, sometimes we've gotten the typhoid vaccine or whatever, I want to make sure that I get the biggest bang for my buck when I get the vaccine. And so what this particular article says, you will have a better response to your flu vaccine or your COVID vaccine if you meditate first. So you've got better immune function. It's also true, there's also data that says that if you exercise first, so I look at all this data and I say, okay, if I exercise, meditate, and go get the shot in the morning, I'm going to get the best outcome for me, where my immune system isn't really robust. And it's worked great for me. I've only had COVID once. Knock on wood. I'm probably calling whatever, making myself vulnerable now. So anyway, so the article here looked at that, and they looked at very specific markers of inflammation. So your inflammation, your NF-kappa B transcription activity went down, your CRP levels. So
that's what, if you had to measure inflammation, that's what the doctors, it's an easily measured in this, it's one of the inflammatory messages that our clinical labs can measure right now.
So when I got into my 40s, probably late 40s, I started experiencing symptoms of autoimmune disease. I went to a rheumatologist. They measured my CRP levels, and they were sky high. So they were like, oh, yeah, you got a problem. We're going to need to run more tests.
They're also sky high acutely when you have an infection. If you have an injury, it's a way of saying we need inflammation, but you don't need it chronically.
So your cell-mediated immunity functions better.
That's purposeful.
And that's important for someone like me. I have a B cell leukemia. So my B cells after treatment are non-existent or very, very low. So I'm relying on my T cells to keep me healthy. So I want my T cells to be happy and healthy and strong. So meditation is a good tool for someone like me. And then our telomerase
an index of, for example, in the immune system, you have stem cells that divide to make these T cells and B cells. And if the telomerase gets longer, then they have greater ability to divide. So awesome. Okay. Right, where were we? Here.
Here. And so
there's the
I told you, I promised you we would have a little graphic that explains your telomeres and telomerase. So the ends of your chromosomes have a little cap on them that's called the telomere. And as you age,
and people should know, they're really important because they keep the DNA tight, and it makes it resistant to mutations.
Yes.
Okay. So then, as you age, go ahead and tell the story right here. Boom, boom, boom.
Your telomeres get shorter
and shorter
until at a certain point your cells stop dividing and they go into what we call senescence. And we kind of want to avoid things that are going to make our telomeres get short. And the telomerase helps.
It's an enzyme that will push it backwards in time.
Yeah. So the telomerase will pad your telomeres and keep them from getting.
And that way you can see they have more ability to divide. Here they kind of just crap out. Okay. Righty.
So this was
right here,
so this was a study where they looked at telomerase gene expression. They wanted to look at a cohort. So they looked at Black Americans who have high blood pressure. So they're hypertensive Black Americans that are having heart issues. And they wanted to look at the best way to reduce stress and improve health in this cohort. And what's really interesting about this, they had two interventions. One was very time consuming, very costly, extensive health education. So you're having a lot of in-person meetings with the person. That's going to be hard for a lot of people. So I don't have time for that. And then the other thing that they did was meditation. And so you can see the green bar and the maroon bar are equivalent.
Yeah.
So they got the same outcome with meditation, which is something that you could send the patient on the way and say, look, here's an app. We're going to give you a free app. And we want you to meditate 5 minutes a day, 3 times a week, 5 times a week, whatever. And then maybe touch base electronically with the patient, send them text messages, try to support them that way, versus having to make the patient come in and meet with you and sit through health education classes, which, it's going to be hard to do because a lot of people are busy.
So it's all dependent on sample size. When you see these error bars, it just shows you there was more variability here in terms of people participating in these interventions, but and here the baseline had less variability, but that's all good. So.
But anyway, so they both had the same result in telomerase gene expression, which is a good result. So the other video that we had you watch is managing stress through mindfulness, and I'm giving you a link on this slide to the UCSF program. They have a good program to help their workers deal with stress. And it's really important to just realize that by being mindful, we can try to avoid our fight or flight response and trigger our rest and restore response.
This is just the same as rest and digest. So fight or flight is adrenaline, and that's a sympathetic. And we saw this in previous readings, and Robert Sapolsky talked about it. And then this is the one when you're eating and sleeping and relaxing.
Yeah. So some of the recommendations that they make to help their workers in San Francisco relax is think about something that makes you feel grateful. So, maybe your life is terrible right now, but you're grateful that, your dog is cute, So I'm very grateful for my dogs. I'm very grateful for John. John is a wonderful thing in my life. And then
sorry.
go back. And then I like this. And I think this is great when you have an exam, when you have an event that you need to be powerful for, when you have an interview. Do physical things that can help you overcome stress. Strike a power pose like Beyonce or Wonder Woman. So be aware that when you're stressed, sometimes your breathing gets shallow, your posture may get worse. So throw those shoulders back, hands on the hips like Beyonce, and make sure you're getting deep breaths, and that'll be really helpful in terms of overcoming your stress response. Okay, so this was the study that came out recently. It's actually one of our students that worked with us as a grader recently, Karen Chen, is on this study. Mara Mather, who's a member of the School of Gerontology, they did a study with older adults, and it just was published in the last couple of weeks and has gotten quite a bit of attention using something called the Headspace app. So there's a lot of apps that you can sign up for. And I put a note in there just that the Headspace app is $9.99 a year if you're a student. That's a pretty good deal. You get access to all their resources. I haven't used it. I can't say that, this one's better than anything else. But what they did is they had older adults go through this app guided mindfulness meditation. So they had a study with one group that got the meditation intervention, and the other group just listened to books on tape. So they had selected, I can't remember what it was. They had selected a story for them to listen to. And then they put them through a series of exercises looking at eye movements to measure attention. And they found that in the older adults that did the Headspace app guided 4-week mindfulness meditation program, they did better on cognition tests. So kind of cool.
I have the Head Case app.
We don't really know. Okay. Now, USC started quite a few years ago. I don't remember if it was before or after the pandemic or during the pandemic. They have a website called mindfulusc.edu, and they have an app. I have the app on my phone. And so you can get free mindfulness resources through that app, or on the website. You can get free meditation resources on the app. So you don't have to pay. Like I said, you can do it from home. You can do it for free. I love this stuff. And Mindful USC also has classes, probably not that much in the summer, but they have classes that you can go to online and in person. So it's a great resource, and you can sign up for their newsletter.
They make you mindful of your tuition increases, which is just awesome.
Okay, UCLA, I like their resources because they have guided meditation in 18 different languages, which I think is awesome. And so it's a free resource. You can go to UCLA, go to the website. They also have an app and things that you can sign up for. You don't have to be a student at UCLA. This is all designed for the public, I think. Okay, and then so that's the app for UCLA Mindful, which is both Apple and Android. And then this is my Fitbit that I wear religiously. You have never seen me sadder than if I go work out and then I get home and realize that my Fitbit, that I either didn't wear my Fitbit or the battery was dead, because if it didn't get recorded on your Fitbit, it didn't count, right? So anyway, so it has a tool called Relax. It's a guided breathing exercise. I use it all the time. It's super easy, 2 minutes. Love that it's on my wrist and it's easy and I can do it, because easy means you'll do it. Apple Watches. I've never had an Apple Watch, but it has a mindfulness app. So you can choose Reflect, where you just think about something that you're grateful for, or think about something that's going on in your life, or you can choose the Breathe thing. And so that's, I think, like I said, tech is your friend. It can help you. And then here's a couple apps, the Headspace and Calm apps. Headspace says it's free, but I think it's one of those apps where you really need a subscription to get much. So I love the fact that we have this free, easy thing that we can do in our cars during class, during an exam, at home, anytime, and we can incorporate that easily. And there's so much scientific evidence behind it to say that it will help improve your immune system, reduce your blood pressure, help manage your blood sugar, and do all these things to prevent cardiac disease, to prevent Alzheimer's disease, and just overall make you a happier person.
And like your papers, you could do, the salivary cortisol, and you would see that, and heart rate variability, which leads us to the discussion. And basically, the way for you guys to learn is to review. And so this is, kind of again, this opportunity, like Julie pointed out, with the imaging, to kind of review a lot of the brain functions that happen to stress, and then we want you to talk about how meditation would control those areas that you've now learned all about. Okay. And and then, as she showed you in multiple slides and talked about right now, think about inflammation and psychoneuroimmunology and cancer and telomeres, and have fun with this.
All right.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Peace. You're gonna have a great week. And we have one more lecture to go.
All righty.